What is going on, guys? Welcome to a true and realistic rebuild of the Detroit Tigers in MLB The Show 20. So if you guys are here for the long haul and you want to see a true and massive rebuild of a team, of an organization, of a franchise, come to the right spot, because we are going to do a deep dive rebuild of this team. And it's actually my favorite team. I actually live in Michigan. The Tigers are my squad. They're my guys. So I owe it to the city of Detroit, right? I owe it to them. We need a championship. We just flat out, bar none, need a championship. We have not had one since 1984, since Ronald Reagan was president. It's a long freaking time. Plus, with Jim Leyland at the helm, JV, Max Scherzer, Miguel Cabrera, Prince Fielder, the Tigers have had a lot of good players run through and wear that Old English D for a little while. You know, way back in 2006 when we had that miracle run. Maglio Ordonez, Pudge Rodriguez, Kenny Rogers, you name it, Curtis Granderson. It was a team of destiny, right? 07 kind of fell off a little bit. 08, we acquired Miguel Cabrera and things started to change as far as the Tigers organization was concerned. We started spending a ton of money, acquiring guys like Prince Fielder, going after big name free agents. Carlos Guillen got a pretty hefty paycheck. Placido Polanco, he was on the 2006 team. But the point remains, the Tigers had a large window to get it done, and they didn't. A lot of the money that was spent did not and could not translate for whatever reason into a World Series championship. Making it in 2006, make it in 2012. They couldn't get it done. But we are going to try our best in order to do that. And quite personally, I don't believe in the job that Al Avila is doing for the Detroit Tigers faithful, for the city of Detroit, for the players. I don't believe in the job that he's doing. So this true and realistic rebuild is all about taking over the entire franchise and molding it in my image. That's how we're going to do this. It's not a speed rebuild. If you guys want to go check that out, go check out the Chicago White Sox one that I just did a couple days ago. I will be doing true rebuilds like this one for the Tigers and speed rebuilds in the future. And I think I might have to break this up into a couple parts. We might have a part 1 for the Tigers, a part 2. Hopefully it doesn't take that long, but it's going to be a while. This is a team that's rebuilding the whole entire franchise, the face of the franchise, the identity of the franchise. So we're going to have to draft well, we're going to have to scout well, sign free agents well. We're going to have to do just a really bang-up job to make sure that we get this thing done in over, maybe even in 3 years, I would say, for this rebuild process to fully take hold. Okay, so Matthew Boyd. What to do about Matthew Boyd? He's been a pretty decent pitcher. The problem is that at 29 years old, you've already kind of hit your prime. 30 years old, 31, you can still have good seasons as a top-of-the-line pitcher. But Matthew Boyd, to me, he took a really big step at age 28. Moving into age 29, 30, 31, you're starting to get older. Pitchers that get older are more susceptible to injuries. I mean, you could go either way on that. Young guys get injuries too with Tommy John, but the older you get, generally speaking, you start piling up some injuries, right? I don't really feel like we need to be putting all of our eggs in one basket. It was interesting at the deadline last season that the Tigers decided to keep Matthew Boyd versus trading him away, and maybe that was because they had a plan. They wanted to go out and try to sign guys like CJ Cron or Jonathan Scope, see if they could find a player with some power, with some pop in their bat, which they really struggled with last year. They did not have a lot of home runs. I think they were last in the entire MLB in the number of home runs, home run production. So it's interesting. It's a curious case with Matthew Boyd. The statistics don't lie, guys. 50 walks, 238 strikeouts. Like that, it's really good. It's really good. That slider is very devastating. If we do decide to keep Matthew Boyd around and we offer him a contract extension. 5-year deal doesn't seem to me like that's the best way to go about it, because he's definitely going to regress. He's going to regress, but you do want him under contract for a little while. All right, so I'm saying about 3 years. He'll get to about age 32. We'll see some regression in his play, and I think that that's going to be a fine contract. I think that that's going to be good for him. We might even up him to like 5. Let's be realistic here. Let's up him to 5, 15 mil at 3. We'll give him that, and I think that he is good with it. So that's cool. We got Matthew Boyd extended, and if we do end up signing a guy or Casey Mize ends up becoming the ace, at least Matthew Boyd is still under contract. He's still going to be a solid contributor for us in that rotation. A guy like CJ Cron, Jonathan Scope, I don't see us extending the contracts out for these players. I really don't. I mean, Jonathan Scope at 28 years old, he's a good player. I've always liked Jonathan Scope. He's going to hit his home runs. I mean, he's no slouch, guys. He's going to be a really good player for Detroit this season. I think he's going to pull his own weight here, but I don't think he's the long-term answer. Of course he's not the long-term answer at 28 years old, right? He's a decent player. He could fetch some trade value, and depending on how he plays this season, we might offer him a trade deadline prep, as you guys see in the second line there. We can offer him a contract extension. Maybe that's kind of more, I guess you'd say, more appeasing to teams that are looking to trade for a player or to acquire a player with a B type of potential. A guy like Jonathan Scope, you're looking at that and you're thinking, hey, this guy, we can have him under contract for multiple seasons. It's not just a 1-year rental. That might fetch some more value. Same thing with CJ Cron. I don't see him sticking around here for Detroit. Austin Romine, a solid veteran presence catcher. It was a good addition. This is one of the additions that I really liked for the Tigers. But again, I think this method that Al Avila is pulling is just trying to get guys with some veteran experience, kind of help along the young guys, and then end up saying sayonara. We're trying to acquire some young talent by trading you away. These other guys down here, Nico Goodrum, Victor Reyes. Victor Reyes, I think, would be a guy that you'd want to build around. He quietly had over a 300 season in batting average. I mean, that was pretty solid. 64 strikeouts though, and 276 at bats. Like, that needs to get a little bit better. You're basically on pace for over 100. 100 to me, maybe even mid 100s, is kind of a lot. Like, if we're talking like Michael Brantley numbers, you're down in the 80s, the 60s. Like, that's elite level strikeout numbers. So Victor Reyes in 69 games played, I'd like to see that strikeout total go down a little bit. The walks go up. OBP was okay. It could be better, but Victor Reyes at 25 years old and B at 74, he's a player that I would think that we'd want to extend, but I'm not going to quite yet because I want to see what he's going to do in this season. I want to see the production there before we just go ahead and extend him out, and then we're stuck with him. Same thing here with Nico Goodrum. I don't want to extend him right now. There's really no reason to do that. He's showing you right there that he's just kind of an average player. He can play pretty well defensively, but he's just kind of a guy. 12 home runs, 16 home runs. I like Goodrum. I like his versatility, but he's not a starter. He's not a starter. He's basically like Jurickson Profar. I mean, that's really what we're talking about if you guys remember Profar. Not as highly touted as Profar, but that's kind of the production that he's been posting, is like a Profar type of numbers. Plus, he's a switch hitter. He plays good defensively, so on and so forth. Daniel Norris, I mean, he came over to Detroit very early in his career from Toronto, and he's been okay. He's been okay ever since 2017 happened. He had some really good years in 15 and 16, but ever since then, the injuries started happening to him. He's just another player that's kind of got that injury bug and's not quite been the same. So it's a big year for Daniel Norris as far as contract goes. I want to see how that pans out. Guys like Spencer Turnbull, I just don't have a good read on him quite yet. He started 30 games, went 3-17 on a very bad team. And Turnbull's stuff is pretty good. I mean, you can see the pitch repertoire right there. 95 miles an hour, 93 mile an hour sinker, 87 sliders. So his stuff bites, and it bites hard. Like, Spencer Turnbull could be a really good, like, number 4, number 5 guy. He's only 27 too. So I'm thinking about keeping him around, but again, it's just another big year for him. And I want to see him do a little bit more for us and take that next step. Michael Fulmer, injury, really bad injury for Michael Fulmer. That's why they knocked him down to a 72 overall. Still, one of the best pitchers on the entire staff, and the stuff don't lie, guys. 96, 95. His stuff hits hard. And this ERA is an indication of that. 2016, 2017. It's a good pitcher. I'd like to extend Fulmer, but again, the injury concerns kind of wear me and scare me off a little bit. Joe Jimenez, or Joel Jimenez, however you guys want to say it. Good pitcher. Very, very good pitcher. I like Joe Jimenez. And we see his numbers here, 4.37, 1.32, 4.31, 1.2. The whip is good. The strikeouts to walk is really good. He's just got to tone down on the home runs a little bit. He's got to try to work on his location and really just being ahead of the hitter that's going up against him, because I think right now he's either tipping his pitches or he's getting a little bit too predictable. And at the big league level, you're eventually going to figure that out if you've got the stuff to do it. I think Joe Jimenez has the stuff to do it. So we're going to go ahead and offer him a 3-year contract at I don't like that number. Let's go 6.33 and get Joe Jimenez in a Tiger uniform for multiple seasons. Jordan Zimmermann, I'm definitely going to be looking to trade Jordan Zimmermann, but here's the caveat. $22 million in contract for this season. That's going to be very hard to move, especially being a 33-year-old player with a D potential. That is no good. That's no good. Ivan Nova, not even thinking about extending that contract whatsoever. Jeimer Candelario, the Candyman. I've always liked Jeimer Candelario, and if you guys go back actually to MLB 17, I do have a playlist that's out there with a Tigers rebuild, actually, an actual franchise for the Tigers. We sold off everybody. This was in the Brad Osmus days. We sold off everybody, and one of the players that I was looking at acquiring was the Chicago Cubs minor league third baseman, Jeimer Candelario. Crazy. It was really, really weird. But, you know, 2017, he showed some potential. And I think the Tigers saw that potential. They got him in a trade with the Cubs, hit a lot of home runs, but the batting average was bad. Batting average was bad yet again in 94 games for Detroit. This is another player that needs a big year in order to show the upper office, the front office, that he can stick around. Harold Castro, I like Harold Castro. And I'll just show you guys the numbers real quick. 82 contacts, 60 contacts. So he's getting some love here from San Diego Studios and the show team. He hit 291 last year in 97 games. So I think Harold Castro, given his positional eligibility, is a good player to hang your hat on as a potential bench guy. So I think I'm going to offer him about 2 years. He'll get to age 28. We'll see how he does. We'll reassess and see what's going on with Harold Castro. But this is a deal that I think he will definitely and gladly accept, and I think that that's a good move for us as far as bench, is securing a bench role. There's a lot of guys. I have a lot to talk about with some of these players. No joke. Dawel Lugo, another player that's going to need to have a show-me type of season here in Detroit. 245, 271 OBP. That is not very good at all. Showed a little bit of power, just a little bit. 6 home runs, 26 RBIs. I want to see more out of Dawel Lugo. Right now, I'm not super impressed. As a Tigers fan, I'm not super impressed. Buck Farmer, 29 years old, 67. I'm not considering contract extending you. Grayson Greiner, we can extend Grayson Greiner probably to like a 3-year deal. He seems to me more like a backup type of catcher, more of a defensive-minded first type of catcher. His offense doesn't look like it's really going to happen. I'm going to go on record in saying that. I wish it did. I hope it does. but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. It doesn't look like it at all. If we can go to signed, nope, unfortunately, we cannot. But we'll move on. We'll move on. I just wanted to show you guys some of his statistics. But Christian Stewart, 65 overall player. Nice even spread there with the contact and the power. So he's a very well-balanced type of player. But, you know, that defense is not very good. A 9.64 in the outfield. 5 errors. Yikes. I mean, look at the numbers there, guys. 45 accuracy, 42 arm strength. Christian Stewart's more of an offensive asset. He's going to really need to work on his defense in order to have any sticking and staying power in Detroit. I think we're gonna extend him maybe to like a 2-year deal at 1.4, what he's asking for. And the only reason for that is because I believe in the potential offensively. He could be kind of a guy that maybe we even stick in right field where you don't need to be super defensive, right? Usually you have a strong arm out in right field. Maybe we even consider him as just a designated hitter. That's something that we could consider also. Jacoby Jones, not a guy that I'm thinking about extending either. We can easily let him decide to go to free agency, and if we want to sign him for cheap, then we can do that. But right now, I'm not talking to his agents and upping his price, basically. Travis Demerit. I liked Travis Demerit. He only hit 225, but you know what? In the time that he was around, he actually showed me some stuff. I mean, he can chip in many different ways. Stolen bases. He's got some speed. Only was up for 48 games. Had 38 hits in those 48 games. He might be turning into something. I think that the show got it right by giving him that B potential. 59 overall. I think that that's okay too. 25 years old. I think he's, again, just another guy that's got to show me something. Now, that was kind of a long little explanation, but I want you guys to know what we're going to be planning on doing before we actually get in and do it. This is for the diehards. The diehard rebuilders out there that love a realistic rebuild, because we're going to be grinding on this one. Okay, what are we going to talk about with Miguel Cabrera? Well, I've been on the Miguel Cabrera trade me away train for a long time, and it happened right here in 2016. And if you guys go back, I am on record in that 2017 series in the playlist of getting rid of Miguel Cabrera right before he started to drop off a little bit. He's still producing with the OBP at 395, 346, but the strikeouts are starting to pile up. The home runs are going down. The production overall offensively is starting to go down for Miggy. At 36 years old, you kind of knew it was going to happen with that size at 6'4", 249. He's put a lot of mileage on that big body. It's a lot of work being a good Major League Baseball professional. You know, if push comes to shove, we might have to try to trade him away. He is signed up until 2023. So we basically have him for 3 more seasons until he's 39 years old. And knowing how MLB The Show works, he's probably going to get down to mid-60s by the time it's all over. And we're going to be paying him a crap ton of money to basically suck. Xiao Ching Chang. He's a 78 overall player with a D potential. 91 mile an hour four-seam fastball. If you guys go look him up on YouTube, in spring training, he was actually hitting 97 miles an hour on his velocity for his four-seam fastball. So I'm going to up him to about 96 because that's where he is mostly on average. And I think that that's only fair. I think that's the right thing to do. It's, from what we've noticed in scouting reports. Zach Godley was signed to a minor league contract. And then we have some of the players we've already talked about. Jake Rogers at a 70. So when I look at our starting catchers, I don't want Grayson Griner on the big league club. I mean, yeah, he's really good defensively. But, you know, Jake Rogers and Austin Romine kind of fill that. I mean, they contribute offensively. They're decent with defense. Obviously, Romine's a little bit better than Rogers is defensively right now. But, you know, Grayson Griner needs to work on his hitting. He can't be up in the big leagues hitting with 37 and 40 contact ratings. So he's going to get some work in spring training, but you're going to be sitting down there in AAA level. All right, guys, so that's a little roster preview of the Detroit Tigers. Now, what are we going to do to try to possibly get even more trade bait up on this roster? Maybe even try to acquire a guy that might help us in the here and now. Well, the one guy that I'm looking at is we probably want to go to left field and try to fix that up because, again, Christian Stewart, good numbers for offense, but defensively, he's pretty much a liability out there, and I don't like that. I don't like that. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to bring Curtis Granderson back to Detroit, where it all started back in 2004. Yeah, 2004. And this right here is when I fell in love with the Grandy man, Curtis Granderson. 19 home runs, 23. I mean, look at this. He was an integral part of the Detroit Tigers' runs to World Series and playoff pushes. And when they traded him away to New York, I was devastated. I could not believe what I was looking at. You know what? He's better defensively than Christian Stewart, so, you know, why not? So I think it's finally time to actually get into some gameplay here. And let's go ahead and simulate spring training. We'll simulate up until the end, and then we'll get a stats update. Spring training has come to an end. Let's take a look. How did our guys do? Franklin Perez, 7.36. Now remember, he was a guy that was acquired from the Houston Astros in a few years ago in some trades. Bo Burrows pitched well in 11 innings with a 2.4. Kyle Funkhauser in 12 pitched great. Tyler Alexander, 4.5 with a 1.5. It's decent. And then Michael Fulmer continued to pitch well, building on his already successful bullpen sessions earlier on in the spring. A couple notable hitters that got a nice little bump in production since they became a starter. Grayson Greiner, 278. Cameron Maybin up to 351. Harold Castro still struggling though at 205. I'm not too worried about it. Limited sample size, 39 at bats, but Granderson got 19 with 263. Still hitting solo home runs, it looks like. 2 home runs for 3 ribbies. Yeah, so everybody seemed to be doing well. CJ Cron finished the spring with 353 and 9 home runs. You love to see it. All right, guys, let's get this 2020 season started. And first and foremost, let's take a look at the lineup here just to see what we got going on. And Harold Castro with an 82 contact, or do we want to go with CJ Cron with a 49 contact against righties, but he's got 65 power? That's the question. I think that CJ Cron earned starting lineup status. I love me some Harold Castro. I think he's great with that 82 contact, but the power numbers. This is a team, again, that did not do very well with power numbers last season. There's a reason why we acquired CJ Cron, and it's not only to start against lefties. He mashes against lefties, but he's got to be our designated hitter. He just has to be. That's just the way it's got to be. Cameron Maybin. And here's a guy we did not talk about, was Jorge Bonifacio. Decent numbers with contact. Disciplines at 70. So he's a solid hitter. He's a professional hitter. Does it translate into a whole lot of production? Not really. Not really. So I'm not sure what we're going to do about that. I think we just give him a shot and see how it goes. But I'm not too impressed quite yet with Mr. Jorge Bonifacio. But we got Nico Goodrum as our starting shortstop, and then Jamer Candelario as our starting third baseman. Jordy Mercer is our backup with Dal Lugo, as well as a backup, and then Harold Castro, there he is, and Curtis Granderson in left field. I think just for giggles, we are going to put Granderson out there in right field. So we're going to shift him over there to right field. I know I was just talking about how we might want to give Bonifacio some run a little bit, but I'm kind of leaning towards Granderson right now. Starting pitching staff, we have Matthew Boyd, Danny Norris, our 2 lefties at the top, Spencer Turnbull, Fulmer, and Jordan Zimmerman. I think what we'll have to do is we'll have to split some time there. Put Fulmer as our number 2 and Norris as our number 3, just so it kind of splits the lefty, righty, lefty. It kind of helps with series matchups So we'll do that. Ivan Nova, Funkhauser, Burrows, Garcia, Cisnero, Buck Farmer, and Joe Jimenez as our bullpen. All right, guys, you know what time it is. Let's get into some simulation. We're going to go all the way to April. We've got a lot to cover in this rebuild, so you might as well just do it all. Do it all. Let's see what we got. We got a lot of losses. Nice little winning streak here so far. Did we sweep the Cleveland Indians? Wow, we got a 3-game sweep there against the Indians. That's nice. We're moving to 7-12. Yay! But we get swept, and we're on a losing streak there. San Diego wins the series 2-1. We get 1 game from New York, and we're currently 10-21. So, of course, this team is not very good. If we take a look at the roster, let's take a look and see what everybody's doing. Actually, let's go ahead and look at the lineups here first and see how everybody's doing right now. Victor Reyes at the top of the order is hitting .219. Cameron Maybin at .292 in the number 2 spot. Miguel, .252, only 1 home run. Only 1 home run in the month of April. So the drought in power surge is happening yet again for Miguel Cabrera. 8 home runs in .229 for Scope. That seems about what he does. CJ Crone, 1 home run for .231. Curtis Granderson has the second most RBIs behind Jonathan Scope with 15, but his batting average is not very good. This is kind of what we knew we were going to get. His contact numbers have gone down. He used to be up in the 40s. Now he is regressing just a little bit. Grandy might turn into a bench option eventually. Candelario, 3 for 5. So the run production has just not quite been there. Nico Goodrum at a 170 as well. Jorge Bonifacio, I think he's earned some time. Right there. I mean, look at his production. He's got to play, man. 51 at bats, 275. You got to give him a chance. Dawel Lugo, not good. Jordy Mercer has not really played too much. 160 batting average for Jake Rogers. Harold Castro at a 273. He's getting actually some playing time here with no DH. So there's no CJ Crone because you're not going to start him over Miguel Cabrera. So Castro's getting some time, and he's doing well against righties. He's hitting 273. So overall, offense not really pulling their weight right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the pitching. Matthew Boyd's still doing his thing, guys. 307 and a 107. I love it. Fulmer, those are decent numbers for a guy that's coming off injury issues like he has. Danny Norris had a really good spring. 7 ERA. 8 ERA for Spencer Turnbull. And Jordan Zimmerman at a 5.2. Yowza. And we all know that in MLB The Show, your pitchers just get lit up for some odd reason. Can't ever figure it out, but I wish they would. It's kind of annoying that they haven't figured that out yet. But let's take a look at some of our younger guys and see how those players are doing. So we might potentially give them a call-up. And look at this. Xiao Ching Chang. He's doing really well. But with the D potential, he's starting to regress a little bit. So, I don't know. I feel like I want to just up this to like a C potential because he's not really that bad. Then again, I don't want to go ahead and start opening up that door and start messing with things. Maybe we give it until the summer, when the summer actually hits, when we get out of May, start getting into June. We'll see how those numbers either inflate or deflate and see if we want to give him a call-up. But Zach Godley, he's been pitching very godly. 22 strikeouts, 5 walks, 218 with a 126. Yeah, I mean, you have to consider calling him up, right? I mean, you got guys like Danny Norris in 29 innings who's just getting absolutely shelled. Look at the walk numbers. 17 walks to 21 strikeouts. That K to walk ratio is not good. Fulmer's numbers are not good with strikeouts to walks, but again, he's limiting the damage with that ERA and whip. So that's nice to see, but Spencer Turnbull also having the same issues with 23 and 16. Casey Mize on the other end in Double-A is doing well. 29 innings, 19 Ks, 124, sub-1 whip. Tariq Skubal, 15 strikeouts, 9 walks, 5.91 at AA level. You know, it is what it is. Matt Manning, I want to see a little bit more good numbers out of Matt Manning. Alex Faedo, 2.45. Those are decent numbers as well. I'd like to see him get a little bit of a bump. So the Dodgers have actually offered us a trade here. DJ Peters. I don't know, pretty good defensive outfielder. He's got some power as a 23-year-old that's only going to go up. But we see he's actually got a -2 in that power against lefties. Another right-handed bat for the Tigers if we do acquire him. He's getting a bump with the contact rating, but we can work with him with the power numbers too. It's a pretty decent offer. It's a pretty decent offer because, I mean, think about it. We don't really need Austin Romine for the long haul. He's 31 years old. He's not going to be around by the time that this team is any good in order to compete. He might have been able to do his job for a little while, teaching Jake Rogers how to be a pro. But I think that in this simulation, in this game, it might be realistic enough to consider that Jake Rogers could now take the job and Grayson Greiner could be the backup. So we got two young catchers kind of learning together. And DJ Peters, he's got some pretty decent power numbers. Let me just read off to you guys some of his numbers at the minor league level. In 2018, he ended up hitting 29 home runs with 60 RBIs for the Dodgers minor league in AA. Between AA and AAA for the Dodgers in 2019, he ended up hitting 23 home runs altogether with 81 RBIs. The one issue with DJ Peters is the batting average at 236, 249, and 192 strikeouts and 168 strikeouts. But the OPS above 800 is decent. It's decent. And looking at our current outfield type of setup, he could be a guy that we work with down in the minors and start bumping that overall rating up. We look at Cameron Maybin, he's not going to stick around. Victor Reyes is just mostly going to be a contact first type of guy. Daz Cameron, probably not going to be very much of a power type of hitter. Not like his dad, Mike Cameron. Derek Hill at 23, again, just a guy. Jacoby Jones, Riley Green. You would think Riley Green would have gotten more of love with the power numbers from MLB The Show, but he didn't. And I think it's a good trade. It might help us out down the line. We look at all these other outfielders with Travis Demerit. He's not really a power hitter. Bonifacio would be the next closest thing. And again, Bonifacio's got a lot left to prove for us. So I think this is a good trade. I think we're going to pull the trigger and then give Jake Rogers and Greiner some time at catcher to try to figure it out. So Austin Romine, it was fun, but we are going to accept this trade and get DJ Peters on the roster. Let's see where he's at. Does he look good? Does he look good in that? Ooh, he's on the Tigers roster. Ooh, we got to change that. We got to fix that up. He's got one minor league option left. So we'll move him down. We'll fix that up. But it seems like he's going to be a pretty good player for us. Offense is struggling, not scoring enough runs, and we're giving up a lot of runs as well. So that's not good. 16-6 though against Seattle. That's a nice win. But against Tampa Bay, didn't get it done. Blake Snell going to be traded from Tampa Bay to Oakland for Matt Olson and Chad Pinder. That is an interesting deal. I'm not sure that the Rays would trade with the Oakland Athletics. They kind of do the same things. I don't know. It seems like a weird trading partner between the Athletics and the Rays. Currently, though, we are 21-37, and look at all that red. Yowza. We better start considering selling more of our assets, more of our pieces. And today is actually the first day of the draft. So let's go ahead. We have the very first pick in the entire draft. So let's say we get right into it. This is a very important draft because we are looking at guys that are going to be looking at guys that are really going to help us out and contribute early on in the early going. However, our scouting was left to automation, which was by design, because I'm basically acting as general manager and I'm allowing my scouts to tell me what's going on. And if you guys want me to go ahead, I can't do that. I was gonna let you guys see what our scouts were saying. And based on MLB ETA, we got a lot of positional players that were left unscouted. We have 2 guys at closing pitcher. We got Victor Escobar with a 2022 expected date. Those are some pretty decent numbers, guys. 95 fastball, 91 sinker, slider, curve. This guy's got it all. This guy has got it all. But do we really need another pitcher? I mean, look at our pitching staff, our young guys. Can't see it on this list, but we are waiting on Alex Faedo, Matt Manning. Bo Burrows is in our bullpen right now, showing some struggles. Casey Mize, of course. So I don't know if starting pitching is really where we want to go. Why are we doing so much with closing pitchers? It makes no sense. Maybe we would look at first base, 2024 ETA, but their overall is not good right now. You'd basically be looking at a project type of player, especially when you look at Jesus Reyes' numbers with power at first base. We're not looking for a contact guy at first base. We're looking at the prototypical power hitter for a first baseman. This guy ain't it either. Garrett McMillan. What about second base? Nope. Nobody there. What about shortstop? Scott Hook. Again, not really a great player. I mean, yeah, he's a blue chip, but those numbers, I don't like those numbers. I don't want an above average hitter. I want an elite type of hitter. And we are relying on our staff to give us this information. And look, we just aren't getting that. We aren't getting that. So we have some serious things to consider with our scouting department going into next season. You know, on second thought, looking at a guy like Garrett McMillan, I wrote him off completely. But looking at his numbers, guys, elite potential in contact, and the power numbers are going to be average. The fielding is there, the plate vision and plate discipline's there. He's a solid hitter. And the defense, pretty decent as well. Then when we look at a guy like Jesus Reyes, elite potential as well for hitting. Defensively, pretty solid. Plate discipline, pretty solid. But the power numbers don't really favor either of them, right? They're still the same. But Garrett McMillan has more potential with plate discipline and reaction. We don't really need our first baseman to be a good, have a good arm per se. So I think our guy is Garrett McMillan. As much as I kind of am looking at this and I'm thinking, do we really want to spend a draft pick on this guy? I think we do. He's 21 years old, just coming out of college. He's not that great right now. He's actually an average player right now, but he could be an elite player in the future. I say we take Garrett McMillan and secure ourselves a solid first baseman in the future. Yeah, now that's a good draft. That's a good draft, guys. Garrett McMillan. You can see his numbers up on the screen. He's got a 92 potential. This guy is gonna be a boss. Look at those contact numbers. That's gonna serve him well at the lower levels in AAA, AA potentially. He's probably gonna be starting at AA. And once he starts raking, those numbers are gonna start piling up, guys. Those numbers are gonna start piling up. Frank Ojeda, 20 years old. I mean, that's the potential's there, but he's a 49. That's not very good, in my opinion. But David Castillo, look at the velocity and the stamina, the walks per 9. Got a big potential for this guy to move on up. 94 mile an hour four-seamer, 90 circle change, actually 90 sinker, and he also has a circle change. This guy going to be good as well. Mitch Lockhart, a shortstop. Looks like he's going to be a well-rounded type of player at a 78 potential. And then we have Mike Elbert. Kind of like insurance, it looks like, in case Mr. Garrett McMillan does not pan out. Looks like Mr. Mike Albert at a 41 overall is our insurance policy. So pretty decent draft. I think my favorite picks are obviously McMillan and David Castillo. All right, guys, so that's actually going to be it for today's first episode of our true and realistic rebuild of the Detroit Tigers. Make sure you guys leave a like if you like this thing. And of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that red button for subscribe, or my logo, my little logo in the bottom right-hand corner there. It will pop up a subscribe button. And of course, make sure you're hitting that notification bell, because sometimes YouTube, despite you being subscribed, does not send notifications. Let alone, it sometimes doesn't even send notifications out even if you got the bell turned on. So really wacky stuff with YouTube right now. And of course, that goes for any creator that you guys like or subscribe to. Make sure you're always hitting that notification bell if you want to semi-guarantee that you're being notified when new videos are posted. But you'll see this stuff here up on the screen. We're thinking about calling people up, calling people down with pitching. I'll talk more about that in next episode, which will actually post tomorrow. And keep in mind, for these true and realistic rebuilds, these are more of a longer type of mini-series than the speed rebuilds. And if you guys want to get an example of that, go take a look at the Chicago White Sox one that I just posted actually a couple days ago. Speed rebuilds, kind of just a rebuild of the roster, of the Major League roster, trying to build a championship winner very quickly. True rebuilds will be done in parts, and I think that that's kind of a cool way to really see how that we're going to build this roster for the years to come. Set it up for the years to come versus, just acquiring all-star caliber players by trading prospects and then the rest is history, right? So what's the fun in that? You guys want to see the long haul. That's really the target audience that I'm going after, are those of you guys that want the long and realistic rebuild. Up on the screen, though, I will leave you guys with this. We are thinking about trading Jordan Zimmermann, and I will show you guys who we go off and target and acquire by getting rid of Jordan Zimmermann, plus his contract, that $22 million. I will see you guys in the next one tomorrow. Leave a like if you like this thing. And as always, peace.